The other problems that came up, which are still problems, but for the PBGC and Title IV. The pension promise was then, and with the exception of Title IV of ERISA, still is a non-recourse promise. The employer maintains the plan, the employer agrees to fund as instructed by the actuary, and the promise of benefits is not made by the employer, it's made by the plan to the extent of the assets in the plan. It's still that way. Then there's recourse that's built into Title IV. If you're not under Title IV, lots of luck. Now, you know, today's courts might not view it that way. But if you tried to argue recourse when people were careful and made sure that it was very clear in the plan that there was no recourse against the sponsor, the vesting problem, which in my memory, from being involved in it from the very beginning, was the most important problem. Strikes you as odd today because everyone gets vested after 5 years. But in those days, you didn't get vested until you retired. Until you retired. Studebaker and the UAW and the CIO, for that matter, were very advanced. They had 15-year vesting. But if you read a case called Teamsters v. Daniel, or Daniel v. Teamsters, I forget who was the appellant, in the Supreme Court, which was decided just after ERISA, but under pre-ERISA facts and pre-ERISA law. He was Daniel, who had worked his entire life, a very long time, as a Teamster under the Central States, I think, Teamsters plan, with one, he got sick for 6 months, over, what, 40 years, and he had a 1-year break in service and got nothing in a plan sponsored by a union, and it wasn't unusual. And from my perspective, you say, what was I thinking when we drafted the first very preliminary version of this? That was the problem. Studebaker was a problem that could only be solved by Title IV or something like that. But the much broader problem, much broader problem, was accrual, vesting, participation, backloading, the whole row of stuff that's built around vesting.